صباح الخير, bonjour, good morning. ما راح أطول عليكم لكن أحكي بالإنجليزي if you allow me to say a few words in English on a very, very important topic. First, I would like to welcome my dear friend, Minister Dawrak, representing the President of the Republic, and it's quite something to have the patronage of His Excellency the President for this initiative. It shows, and we all know this, his true commitment to the important subject of citizenship, not just in Lebanon, but for the region as a whole. I also want to thank all the organizers here present today, our friends, representatives from the diplomatic corps, but especially those who come from outside Lebanon, from all the countries the European Union has a very strong partnership with. And I'm glad you're here today, not just for the training, but I really hope also to get a little sense of the flavor of Lebanon, its diversity, its challenges, which you all have. They're plentiful, but it's good to be here also and look perhaps at things from a different perspective in what we are discussing today. I very much like the two films. Dawrak is excellent in explaining why dialogue is so important, and thank you for that. I always say for the European Union, we, 28 member states, we have no weapons anymore. Well, some countries, they sell them to other countries, but our own weapon is a secret weapon, which is dialogue. It's the only means we have for the 28 member states to agree. And it takes a lot of time. But I always say dialogue is much more important than any other tool or means we have. Not just for the sake of dialogue. You have to know where you want to go to and what you want to achieve. But it's definitely the only tool that makes you move ahead in peace. Dawrak should not be just for women and youth. يعني سامحيني المحوزة إنه it was written only for women and youth. It should be for everybody. It's very important, and I particularly think we should address man in society on these issues. It's for all citizens, and this is very, very important. The second film showed us the real issue of intercultural citizenship. These are difficult concepts still. They are good for the experts who know what it is, but I think you brilliantly portrayed what it really means for normal citizens like, well, you and I, our children, our neighbors. Everybody can immediately, I think, comprehend what we're trying to work with. And this is so challenging in these days of confusion, of increasing disturbances, of uncertainties, of violence. I had a chance to discuss these concepts recently with an author very known to you, Amin Malouf. He was here at the Salon du Livre, and we had lovely discussions about how to move ahead. He's a good friend of Angelina Foundation, I know, and he's certainly not the only one. There are many, many, many Amin Maloufs in the region who have wonderful ideas and practices on saying why it is important to accept that there are different components of an identity, and why it is important to accept the other, even though he or she is different. And that is, I really think, is the direction we all need to go to, but he also acknowledges it's getting more and more challenging and perhaps more and more difficult. But I do entirely agree with him that really the major issue today is, for all of us, the major challenge is how to manage the coexistence of cultural diversity, and even more so, how to preserve it already in areas where it has existed for decades and for centuries. Let us not forget that. The management of neighboring cultures requires really relentless attention, deep reflection, creative solutions, determination. It's for Europe, as my colleague already said from the Angelina Foundation, it's for Europe and for the Southern Mediterranean, a big challenge, because we see how the simplification of the questions of identity and citizenship is really negatively affecting the intellectual, the political atmosphere of even some of our member states. We see that there is an increasing phenomenon of politicians who want us to refuse to accept the other, in particular when the other comes from different cultural backgrounds. And there is a growing so-called democratic, patriotic movement across the continent, across Europe, acting against what they call so-called cultural relativism. And these are concepts I'm sure you will be discussing a lot during these 2-3 days. When we look at the reality of mutual perceptions, the problem of trust, sikra, between people of the north, the south of the Mediterranean, that really has been developing and increasing over the last decades, that lack of trust. In one of her first public reactions, the European Union High Representative for Foreign Policy, Mrs. Lady Ashton, she focused on that question of trust. And it is connected to the real issues which need to be resolved and to that negative perception of the other. For a significant improvement to take place over the coming years and decades, we must focus action on resolving the challenges through a balanced, sustainable solution for the crisis in our region, and to work tirelessly to change perceptions and mentalities. Perceptions can be changed. That's the role of politicians. And they change, but maybe not always for the good. But it's also the role of all of us in lives. And I think that's where we need to continue to work to help fulfill the deep aspirations of people for dignity, well-being, freedom, democracy. Especially now with the uprisings taking place. You call it the awakening. Thank you for that. I think these are awakenings, uprisings. I never use the word Arab Spring. You will not hear me using it. I don't like it, because we should not just talk about one season for the people, but a period of tremendous change where we just have to preserve these elements of dignity, freedom, and democracy. Now that the borders of the European Union continue to expand, as I said, we already have 28 member states, and there are more countries who are going to join us. 500 million people. People have been increasingly mobile internally. As you know, we can move freely within the EU, no open borders. It's very good. It has actually transformed our societies tremendously. And it has brought a lot of challenges. Today, we are composed of multicultural societies where generations, different generations, from within Europe, from outside Europe, have become established and actually gave a very new perspective to our societies. And that means that we constantly have to rethink Mawatana, the citizenship, European citizenship. We are constantly rethinking that. And this is so interesting in the whole process. I'm not a politician, I'm just a diplomat, but really it's important for politicians to build on that positively. And I think the only positive element you can give is education. Education is the answer to all of this, positive education. I say it all the time in Lebanon when people ask me on all of these issues. I say education, education, education. And this is, I think, why we as European Union, we hold so much on promoting, establishing, supporting programs like these, the one we are here for today, with our partners, Angelina Foundation, the Adiane Foundation, the Lebanese National Commission for UNESCO, the Notre Dame University, all our partners here. We have many, many partners in Lebanon we work with on these issues, but this is where the focus should be. So I want to thank the organizers for bringing us here together. I hope it's useful. I really hope that what you bring from the 3 days will help in the recommendations for the work to take forward, as you were also saying, for your next work of the Angelina Foundation. But truly that it empowers all of us to work on these issues, as I said, with determination and with force and direction, because that's what we have to do. That's what we're here for, I think. Thank you very much.